What kind of impact, though, are these high prices having on businesses that rely on their vehicles, that can't do without them? Well, Jenna Rush is Managing Director at Northeast Coach Travel. Jenna, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for joining us. How, then, is this affecting you?
Oh, it's awful. It's just so stressful. Like you said before, we rely on fuel. We can't run our business without fuel. And it's just awful, especially coming off the back of the pandemic. We've had the worst 2 years of our lives. We're starting to see the green shoots of recovery coming through. The work was coming back. It's been such a hard struggle. 90% of the coaches out there were parked up during COVID. They weren't working. Everyone's took out these huge loans, myself included. We have £5,000 a month in loans to pay back that we took out just to see us through the pandemic. And if it's not stressful enough trying to find that £5,000 a month, you've now got these incredibly high fuel costs where we operate on pre-booked work and contracted work. And, we've tendered for this work as far back as last year. And now we're having to operate this work at a loss. We're trying to renegotiate prices where we can. But it's really, really hard and really difficult at the moment.
So you're having to service contracts you've already made before these price hikes. I mean, that must be really tough. What about future work? Are you pushing up your prices?
Absolutely. We are trying to do that. But like I say, future work, we already have a lot of our work now booked in to see us through until, say, because our schools are our bread and butter. We have a lot of our schools that's already booked in now until the end of July. How can we go back to those schools and say, you've already sent letters out to children's parents now to say, right, we're taking them to the local theme park and it's going to cost X amount of pounds and parents have paid that money to the school. How can we then go back to them and say, oh, by the way, we're having to increase this? And it's not working. It's so hard. A lot of operators do home to school contracts. They're trying to speak to their local councils and saying, look, the profit margin is so thin as it is. We can't operate these school contracts any longer. I know operators are already talking about handing them back. It's just, I don't know what's going to become of it.
Do you think your customers can afford the higher prices you might need to charge?
Absolutely not. Definitely not. Like I say, everything's going up. Energy costs at home, everyone's electric's going up. Everyone's scared as it is, worrying that they're not going to be able to survive filling their own car up and then paying for their own homes. How are they then going to be able to afford to go on coach trips with us and be able to go out and about? You're going to have a lot more people staying at home and not wanting to book anything because they can't afford it.
Now, the motoring group, the RAC, wants a cut in VAT on fuel. Would that make a difference to you? Because you can just claim your VAT back anyway, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. That would make no difference to us whatsoever. Our trade association, which is RHA, they're calling for what is called an essential user rebate because the fuel duty is sitting at 57 pence per litre, which is actually the highest across the whole of Europe. They're asking the government to support transport businesses like ourselves and reducing that by 15 pence per litre and seeing, just helping the businesses survive through this, basically.
What will it mean for you if the government doesn't act and we stay in this high price environment? What will the long-term impact on your business be?
It could be a case of handing back contracts and coaches sitting there, letting staff go because we can't afford to pay them. The last thing we want is a coach sat in the yard. We need that moving, earning money. That's how we are employing our staff. And we just don't want to see what the outcome would be. Especially after the last 2 years, this could be the straw that breaks the camel's back for a lot of operators. They could just say they've had enough and they're going to cease trading and just close down because it is very, very stressful. It's the sleepless nights all over again and the stress, and it's just been a hard couple of years.
It's been a very hard couple of years, hasn't it? I think particularly for business owners. We've had a tweet from Jonathan who says ways that he's trying to adjust the amount of fuel he uses. He's sharing the school run. He's put his car in eco mode, which he says helps a bit. And he says we need to save money, but also try to consume less Russian diesel. I mean, these are issues of global importance, aren't they? So you can see that it's not necessarily the UK government's fault that we've seen this spike in oil prices.
Oh, absolutely. And, there's nothing the government can do about the prices, about the war that's happening. But what they can do is support the businesses that is in this country by reducing that fuel duty. That's definitely what we're asking for. And like I say, we're not blaming the government for what's happening, but I think it's time that they need to help support the businesses, especially the likes of us that rely on fuel. We cannot operate our business without fuel.
Jenna Rush, Managing Director at North East Coast Travel. Thank you very much and best of luck for whatever's coming next.